People are not tools for your vision. I can say it like this. The church doesn't exist to serve your strategy. Your strategy should serve people. Your job is to build them, not just use them. You're not their manager, you're their shepherd. If the only conversations you have with people are about what they do, don't be surprised when they feel disposable. You should not just talk about what they do. You should be a safe space for their dreams. It's not about filling roles. It's not about filling seats. It's about sending leaders into their sphere of influence and making them know that they're actually called there to make a difference. Well, hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Conversations. We're going to be talking today about why you should stop using people to build the church. And this is a funny title, I understand that, because you're like, how do we build church without people? I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm saying there's a philosophy behind this, or even semantics, to be honest, that I think actually do correlate to our motives. And this episode is going to be a little bit shorter, but I do want to pack as much content in as I can. So just going to submit some thoughts to you, because too many church leaders are building ministries that look great on paper, but leave people tired, unseen, and used. Because here's the hard truth that you and I potentially don't want to hear. If your people are just filling roles and are not being pastored, you're not building the church. You're running a machine. In this episode, we're going to get straight to it. How to stop using people and how to start building them. I believe this is going to challenge you. Might sting a little bit. It's only because I love you. It's all because we all need to hear this, including myself, because the church was never meant to be built on people. It was actually meant for people. So I'm going to give you 5 thoughts and then some questions. Number 1, people are not tools for your vision. I can say it like this. The church doesn't exist to serve your strategy. Your strategy should serve people. I think there's 2 different ways you can think about church right now. There is really the organization of church and the actual spiritual body of Christ. It's the bride of Christ. So when you think about that, you need to delineate that. In me, like my role a lot of times in church and even my current context is very organizational, and there are organizational elements to the church. I'm not saying don't have structure. I'm not saying don't have PDs. I do all of that stuff a lot. And I understand, though, that people are not there to serve my strategy or serve our strategy. The actual strategy should be what's serving people, developing and growing people, because the church is not a place where people are used to hit KPIs or OKRs. And again, I'm in the business world too. I do marketing stuff. I've been in business longer than I've been in the church. What I'm saying is, though, is they're not there to just serve your vision. And really, I've said this in other episodes, I don't necessarily even want to focus on people who want to serve my vision or the vision. I want to build with people who have vision, because there's a difference, in my opinion, of motivated, self-motivated, and self-aware leaders than people who just want to help out. I don't want helpers. We want leaders. The vision should not be bigger teams or more services. It should be lives transformed. The best thing you can do, the best marketing strategy, the best growth strategy is to facilitate a space where the presence of God's there. Because when God's there, anything can happen. And when somebody's life is transformed, I promise you, they're going to do whatever it takes to get their friends there, their family there, their coworkers there. They're going to build people. They're going to say yes. They're going to serve. They're going to lead. They're going to lead a small group. All the outcomes that you're trying to get them to do. If you would just create a space for people to worship, to encounter God, and to meet the real person of Jesus, I'm telling you, they will be more all in than you trying to just build quote unquote big vision. Because if people are burning out while your church is growing, you're building wrong. And I get it. I'm very aware of the burnout culture. I think honestly, right after 2020 hitting 2021, people understood and realized how their pace of life was just wrong. And I'm not saying that we should also be lazy. I think there's a balance, right? It's more of a paradox than it is a balance because, again, people can say yes and people can say no, and we have to be aware of that. You need to create a space where people can say no and they shouldn't feel bad about that. And we should understand that when they say yes, you need to hold them accountable to their yes. Let their yes be yes and their no be no. So, number one, people are not tools for your vision. Number two, your job is to build them, not just use them. You're not their manager, you're their shepherd. They have managers, they all have jobs. And in my context, I believe the church 99% of the time should be servant leader led or volunteer led, because you paying somebody to sit behind a desk most of the time, to be honest, isn't as effective as you think. And yes, there are things to do organizationally. Like I said, we got to delineate here. There's organizational elements to the church, and there's the actual ecosystem of the church. You're not their manager. You're not managing people. You're their shepherd. Managers and shepherds are two different things. And a lot of times, I don't know if people are very aware that they're trying to manage people when they should just be their shepherd. My question to you is, are you discipling their soul or just directing their schedule? Because you can do both. Very recently had a conversation about somebody's schedule, and that's a pastoral conversation because, again, I'm not trying to build them in our church. I'm trying to build their life. I'm trying to help them lead better and be more effective with their overall life. So yes, I talk about their schedule, but it actually does connect to their soul because their pace is too much. They're doing too much. And again, it goes back to letting their yes be yes and their no be no. So are you discipling their soul or are you just directing their schedule? If the only conversations you have with people are about what they do, don't be surprised when they feel disposable. You should not just talk about what they do. You should be a safe space for their dreams. You should be a safe space for their ambitions, for all of their motives. They should be able to say anything and everything around you. And yes, you should challenge them and push them, but at the end of the day, you're their shepherd, not their manager. Number three, their family matters more than their gift. Stop overlooking struggling marriages because somebody is anointed. One of the craziest things that I've ever seen is this concept, and again, it's a lot, is people primarily focused on gifting more than character. To me, I think gifting is important. It's just not more important than the way they treat their spouse and their kids. I can tell a lot about somebody's leadership by the way they lead their spouse and serve their spouse and love their kids. And to me, yes, that's biblical. Titus 1, 1st and 2nd Timothy make it very clear of how we should be primarily focused on leading our homes. But it's easy to say that. It's another thing when you're actually trying to get more people attracted to your services. You know what will attract quality leaders, though, is being a person of integrity, being a person of character, and being able to call people out. People need to be called out if they're not treating their spouse correctly, or they are treating their spouse like a side chick to the ministry. The church is not your primarily bride. You have a real bride, and God has a bride, and you should serve your bride more than God's bride, because that to me is not acceptable. And I don't think it should be acceptable for you and your ministry as well. And if they're killing it on Sunday and falling apart Monday through Saturday, it's not a win. You need to, what if we measured our success of our churches and our actual teams and our leaders by the way they lead the 6 days that they're not actually at church? Because it's not about filling roles. It's not about filling seats. It's about sending leaders into their sphere of influence and making them know that they're actually called there to make a difference. Pastoring people means protecting the person, not just platforming their gift. Gifting will not keep you in the rooms that you're praying for. I'm telling you, your gift is so special and God put it in you 100%. That does not mean that is the primary focus. I would rather have somebody less gifted but actually more committed to the longevity and the unity of our team, the health of their family. They have boundaries. They don't respond to me. I mean, I would never message them outside of work hours anyways, but you got to understand that you should care more about their family than their gift. And you can say that, but does your text messages say that? Does your one-on-ones say that? Does your internal motives say that? Because again, it's easy to say stuff. It's another thing to have motives. Number 4, empower, don't extract. Leaders reproduce leaders, not robots. People should leave your church more confident, more whole, and more empowered. What if our churches were the best incubators for the best leaders on the planet? Not the best managers, not the best door holders, not the best chair stackers, but actually looking at their life and building their life. Because nobody will stack chairs, but if you ask them to change the world with you, and it just so happened to be one of the ways they can change the world is by stacking chairs. Again, it goes back to how you articulate vision, but also understand you're not extracting things from them. You're empowering them in their own context. And to me, the winners and the people who are not winning, which in any other context you would just say they're losing, are the people who understand that I'm actually there to fulfill my calling by building them. They're not there to build the thing that I care about. I'm here to build what they care about. And by the way, if you do that, they will absolutely serve with conviction, with passion, be more submitted than ever, honor you more than ever, because you actually do care about them. If the church can't run without you, it's not healthy, it's dependent. And to me, that counts with everybody. And I know this isn't popular, and I don't mean it to sound aggressive or direct, but there is a level of understanding that I'm replaceable, that there actually is a level of understanding and awareness, because I've lived this, that I actually am replaceable, that I am not an anomaly. I am not unique. I know that I have specific gifts, and I know that I'm good at the things that I'm good at 100%. But it goes back to worshiping gifts more than the person who gives you those gifts. Because again, the church can run without you. And that I know can come off harsh or direct. And I do mean it that way, because the reality is we have people now that have egos that think that if they aren't there, the church won't exist. Here's the problem with that thought. The church has been around for 2,000 years, and it's been doing just fine. Church attendance was up 33% last year. And guess what? My wife and I took a year off of ministry. The church that we were part of for 5 years is healthy and vibrant, and people are getting saved every single weekend, and I'm not there. Which tells me the church goes on, because it's not built on you. It's not built on me. It's built on the rock of salvation, Jesus Christ, not me. So for me, I'm just glad to be a part. I'm happy to be in the room. I'm happy to make a difference. I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to stack chairs. I'm happy to push road cases. Why? Because I know that I don't have to be there. And I feel known and needed, but I don't feel like there's a pressure on my life that I have to be there or else it's going to fail. That's not a healthy mindset, because that's pride and ego more than anything. The church can run without you. And you should know that it's not healthy to have dependency on people, on a sense of, if you're not here, it's not going to work. Well, that's just not a good way to think about it, because God will bring the right people for the right season at the right time. Number 5, and lastly, I'm going to give you some questions after this. Lead with honor, correction, and presence. You need to be able to be honest without being harsh and correct without crushing. This is really big to me, because what ends up happening is you and I have to understand that I am going to confront people because I care about their character more than their gift. And if I worship their gift more than love them as sons and daughters of Jesus, what's going to end up happening is I'm going to refrain from correction because I think they'll leave. And if you have this thought, I can't correct them because they're going to get upset and leave my church, that's the wrong person anyways, because we all should be humble. We all should be correctable. And it's one thing to correct somebody, it's another thing for them to actually take that and apply it. Correction is like sunscreen. You got to apply it. For you to just spit out words that nobody listens to, or they don't know how to receive it, that's introspective than blaming them. But to be honest, you need to learn how to honor down, up, and all around. But you also need to understand that correction and presence are really important, especially in the church context. What am I trying to say? On Sundays, be in the green room, but also be in the group chat. I think what we've heard in the last couple of years is get out of the green room, get out of your office, and get into, and there is a sentiment to this. Yes, you should not be sitting in a literal green room for the whole Sunday. I think that about the worship team. I think that about the people who are serving. I think that about the pastor. By the way, pastor, the reason why nobody worships in your church is because you don't worship in the front row. And worship team, the reason why nobody's engaged with you during worship is because you don't sit in service. So that's the easy solution there. But be in the group chat. Be a normal human being. Be a part of their life. That's what the word integrity means. It's integration. That you're actually integrating into society and being a normal human. You're not a king. You're a human. You are a human being. And so are the people who serve with you, not for you. You're not their boss. You're their shepherd. I heard this in a podcast maybe 2 weeks ago. It was Grow Leader podcast. And they said, it was Mark Pettis, the new lead pastor. He said, the mission is the lead pastor. And I love that. They just went through a crazy, awesome, incredible transition from Chris Hodges to Pastor Mark and to become the lead pastor of Church of the Highlands, one of the greatest churches in our country. In the first staff meeting, he said, the lead pastor didn't change. The mission's the pastor. And that's just great language. Obviously, he's the lead pastor. But the language of that is the mission's the same. We're trying to reach people. We're trying to worship God. We're trying to love our city. And to me, that is the move. Be a humble person. Be a great listener. And don't just celebrate people's contribution. Invest in their formation. Invest in them. Invest in their dreams. Invest in their future. Yes, by practical, giving them opportunities, giving them room, giving them the kid you know has a massive calling. Let him preach. Let him preach. Let the girl who serves on your host team preach. And I'm saying that lightly, but also understand that we need to be able to honor people and don't just honor their gift, honor them as humans. So here's some reflective questions that I'm going to submit to you to help you and I both gather this concept that, man, should we be using the church to build people, not the other way around. Number one, am I pastoring this person or just assigning them tasks? Number two, if they had to step away tomorrow, would they feel valued or forgotten? Number three, do I know what's happening in their life beyond what they do on Sundays? Am I building something that can thrive without me? And would I want to serve under somebody who leads like me? Listen, God didn't call us to grow machines. He called us to build people. If this episode challenged you, good. That means there's room to grow. Share it with your team, your staff, or another leader who needs this reminder because, again, we don't use people to build the church. We use the church to build people. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope it added a ton of value to you. If there's a thought, maybe comment it in the YouTube video, leave a review, all the things that you know you're supposed to do if a podcast means a lot to you or adds value to your life. I appreciate you. We'll see you next week.